Greetings, community, and welcome to Entropy and Comics and another edition of Kevin's most anticipated reads tomorrow for New Comic Book Day, 2025. And here we are once again, and it's great to be alive. Appreciate everyone who cruise in on the rewind, and without you, this would only be half as fun. And for those of you who decided to cruise on in on the live, let's go ahead and take a moment and say hi. Las Cruces, I appreciate you hanging out with me, brother, as always, and dude, I appreciate the support. DJ, I hope work is going well, and I hope you're doing well on this Tuesday. And yeah, I can't complain, Did my work off, got to pick up a couple books, and I get to do the show. Hey, so let's get into it. Starting off over at Ahoy Comics, Toxic Avenger, issue 5 of 5. Here we are wrapping it up, and I've been getting, I think it's cover D, and that's the one that, it's just like cover A. It's essentially a version cover. At the same point, it also comes with a little trading card. So, I just couldn't help myself, and I like gimmicks, Give me a foil, give me a card, give me extra stuff. I appreciate it. All right, so again, Ahoy Comics Toxic Avenger coming out on 2/26/2025, and that's 5 of 5, and that finishes out the series. Moving over to Marvel, and let's talk about Amazing Spider-Man issue number 68. This is the 8 deaths, and essentially this is really kind of finalizing the majority of the storyline. What this also will lead into is issue number 6970, which will finalize the Amazing Spider-Man series as of such and start anew. This also bleeds in and leads into the Doom aspect of stuff, but it should only give us a feathering of hints of stuff to come. I really been enjoying this 8 Death stuff. It's really been, I guess, revitalizing some of my interest, not only in Spider-Man series, which I've been reading continuously, but what it's been giving me is a little more different fun than I normally would experience. Spider-Man is not normally associated with a little sorcery, and he kind of hates magic in general, that and symbiotes. Just saying, it's one of those things that he doesn't do well with, and so when it's paired with him, it just is a whole lot of fun. So I've been enjoying it, and it's coming out on 2/26/2025. It's Amazing Spider-Man issue number 68. Moving out from that, let's talk about Blade Red Band issue number 5 of 5. This is another 5-issue series in which that is finishing out here. It's another band series in which that it kind of started off. If you really think about it, when the big event, I can't remember, Blood Hunt came out and it did its red band. That gave us an introduction of a little more visceral activity and basically mostly pictures. I think there was once a couple of word drops or a little kind of, but my point being is the cool thing about the red band, it's not just a gimmick. It actually did prove to be a little bit better than the regular series as far as a couple of the pages were concerned, in my opinion, and it did best suit when it came down to not only Blood Hunt, but Red Band in general. As far as Blade is concerned, it just is a natural fit. So I'm just saying that Red Band should stick with the whole vampire stuff. Anything beyond that just doesn't quite work for me, but that stated, Blade, it just worked perfect. And I can't wait to get my hands on the finishing of the series. It's been that enjoyable. It's been that awesome. And brother, I appreciate you being here. And I just can't wait to get my hands on that one tomorrow. Moving out from Blade Red Band issue number 5 let's talk about Hell Hunters issue number 3. This has been awesome. It's been not only been awesome, but this along with Helverine issue number 3, which I'm going to be talking about in a moment, it's been really cool. I guess you can, by using the pun, could say it's been one hell of a series. The cool thing about Hell Hunters is we're also getting hints of what's supposed to come down the road. As far as the Ghost Rider stuff, there's going to be a mini event happening down the road with it, like Spirits of Violence, which was canceled because of unfortunately, they wrote too many drops and too many hints that everyone now knows the identity, knows that storyline. So they had to redo it, and they just canceled 3 months worth of storylines. Moving out from that aspect and getting back and dialing it back into Hell Hunters, it's really been cool to see these introductions of not only a character from York, but what is that, middle 40s or something like that. But it's also been cool to see this team get together and more Hell stuff. I've been really like how initially some of the series was first dropped when we got tinges of understanding of they were basically weaponizing the spirits. What was that, almost a year ago? Almost at this time, and we're seeing how the progression of how that's turning into all these different aspects of the Helverine and so forth. So Hell Hunters issue number 3 is just another branch of this, I don't know, mini hellish universe. It's been freaking awesome. So Hell Hunters issue number 3 is just another integral aspect of that Hell mini universe, if that makes sense. Moving up from that, but kind of sticking with that, let's talk about Hellverine issue number 3. These things have been dropping every together in the sense of the Hell Hunters and Hellverine. It's been quite awesome. Hellverine, initially when it came out, Wolverine issue number 36 was the first major introduction, was really kind of it was really a money grab. That gimmick was really not supposed to be as big as it really was. As many people as I talked to and as how the storyline has progressed, everyone's a little bit pleased on how well received this character has been. And now we got this multiple different iteration, but also a third time coming and its resurrection of a lot of things are dying and coming back. I'm just saying, nothing ever stays dead in Marvel. And Hellverine is a great example. So I've been not only just enjoying this series, but we also get an understanding of why so many cruel and unusually, I guess, malevolent creatures get sent to hell. Because essentially what's happening is they're building an army. So as good doing as a lot of these vengeance and violence and all these other spirits are, and even in the case of Hellverine, in the case of what they're doing and ridding the earth of all these creatures, they're actually also amassing a stronghold for hell. That's what we've been getting throughout these series, and understanding how this whole mini hell universe is starting to mount up, coming to this mini event that's supposed to be happening down the road. So I've been digging everything that they've been giving, and Hellverine is just really one of the tops on the list. I'm just saying. Moving out from the Hellverine issue number 3, let's talk about Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 14. Out of the Ultimates, I'm just saying, besides the Ultimates in itself, Ultimate Spider-Man has just been so solid and so enjoyable and so much fun that I not only look for it every month, but as you well see here, you can tell that I've enjoyed it because it's been on the list every month. It's actually made the Blue Light Special, I think, twice so far. And for a series that's only been out a little over a year, that's pretty good. Just saying. Ultimate Spider-Man, I have yet to hear anybody talk negatively about it, and you can only tell as it's mounting up that now we're getting some I guess, significant. There's more involved than just Peter. His son's now in the shit. I'm just saying, and now it puts it in tenfold on what the gravity of this series is going on, because we never had to deal with such an extension of Peter Parker's family in the depths that we have now. And he's also kind of mandated to become the new hero due to the fact of, well, Peter Parker's situation. Just saying. I don't like to go ahead and give up too many, spoilers. I like to just lead into what's going on. If you're not already reading it, hey, buddy, I appreciate you being here, Chef. And you are reading other aspects of this Ultimate Universe, I do suggest that you go ahead and get the trade and get into this, because this is going to be an integral aspect, as many of the surrounding series that are leading up to just, I guess at this point, 10 months, a little less, 9 months, of we're going to go ahead and that gate's going to open and all hell's going to break loose. This series has been ultimately awesome, and I do highly recommend, if you're going to read any of it, Ultimate Spider-Man is a must-read. Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 14 coming out to you and me on 2/26/2025. Did I miss something? No, I haven't. I don't think so. No, okay. Moving on from that, let's talk about Ultraman and the Avengers issue number 4. This is one awesome series. I'm a huge Ultraman fan. First introduced to it when I was a kid, like 6 years old. Oh my God, I'm old. And yeah, I didn't realize that how this was really setting up some of the present kaiju stories that we have today. Yes, the classics like Godzilla and Rodan and so forth are out there. But what I'm getting at, even Gamera, is Ultraman was the first space one that was a battle for Earth that most looked like, represent. My God, my words went away. Most look like humans. And being that it used a human to, in case almost like a symbiotic relationship, to utilize the creature into defending Earth against kaiju type creatures, well, that also led into things like Gatchaman and so forth. I'm just saying, I'm loving it. And when you go ahead and put it together with the Avengers, then I'm sold. I'm that kid, again, 6 years old, going, these are the two loves I love so much. My comics and my kaijus. You can't go wrong. So that's why it just missed out. Ultraman and the Avengers issue number 4 is a must read for me. Moving on, let's talk about Red Hulk issue number 1. Now, initially, I was going to go ahead and get rid of this. I wasn't going to go ahead and pick this up. I'm a sucker for blend covers. So, yeah. So that also means that by definition, I end up reading everything I pretty much buy. So this is also Doom related. It ties into the storyline that we're going to get into the series that we're now been introduced to as of last week. I'm not a major Red Hulk fan. At the same point, being that it's tying into this whole Doom series, I'm in. So out of all the covers that I saw, I thought this was the one that was rather unique to me. Yeah, Ryan, in my opinion, killed it with this cover. Very picturesque. It definitely has a very ink painted look to it, especially the background. All right. See, we think alike. And yeah, I'm a kind of a sucker for those covers. So I just, when they really have that artistic feel to it, and they really can see that the depth in which that, it kind of gives you a foreground background type feel. I kind of like that. I don't know. Everyone has a particular taste when it comes to something like that. When it's just a single character on there and there's no real background, anyways, it's kind of cool. Just saying. So I'm looking forward to not only reading that Red Hulk because it is tying into the Doom stuff that's coming out, but if the art is anything like some of the stuff that I've already have seen, I kind of flipped through some of the pages and it's continuous throughout. Yeah, I'm a sucker. I'm in. Another series I'm going to pick up, and I'm sure I'll enjoy. But moving on from Marvel, let's talk about Mad Cave. And they're giving us Gotcha Man issue number 7. It is them, right? Yeah. And yeah, this has been a solid series. Again, as I was making mention before, this is no one of those series that takes me back to York. Gotcha Man and G-Force, all that type of stuff is better now than it's ever been. As everyone's been extracting these stories of old, the Dick Tracy, and all these stories that they've been pulling out of the hat. There's a couple of them, like even Captain Planet's coming back and Ghost, Space Ghost, and yeah, I really been not only enjoying it, but the way they've been able to modernize these characters, these storylines, and everything has been thoroughly not only enjoyable for me to see, but it's also been given some type of affirmation of some of the stories that I was reading in the past, and always thinking that they were good. It just needed to be fleshed out a little bit better. So, case in point, Gotcha Man, and now we're into issue number 7, is just that fine example. It's been able to been brought to not only by today's standards of what people would expect a good series to be, but it also plays superior homage to what I think they were trying to do back then and doing it justice. So again, if you're into that kind of nostalgic type of storyline, or if you like, in the case of ninjas, science, the combination, the kaijus, the action, the outer space, storylines, it's just complete awesomeness all wrapped into one. That's Gotcha Man issue number 7 coming out on 2/26/2025. Let's move up from Matt Gates and cruise over to Image. They're going to start it off by giving me Department of Truth issue number 28, and here we are, nearly 3 years deep. And this is one of those series that has been like, it's times you're like, what the hell's going on? Then you're like, oh, that kind of makes sense. And then there's times like, I sure hope that ain't true. This series has been not only really like iffy at times in the sense of how consistent it's been, but it's been iffy at times going, I sure hope that there's no real substantial truth to any of this shit because wow. But it's been enjoyable on a philosophical aspect of that whole, if you go ahead and believe it and you can go ahead and conjure it, and there's actually not only truth in that, but not to the depth in which that we were seeing in these storylines. I sure hope not. But what's been really cool is we're also seeing in its own way, in its own metaphorical and symbolic ways, between the old Cold War fights and the modern weird, I don't know, grabs of politics and social shit that's going on. It's kind of ironic and coincidental how many things are playing out presently that were actually mentioned in the past, and some of the things that have actually happened in the past that are again happening presently. And a lot of all this is in this freaking book. It's almost like kind of reading The Simpsons, but in a completely and more horrific type way. Department of Truth has been thoroughly enjoyable for me and just as scary as can be. It's almost like a Black Mirror in a book form by Tiny Onion, and it's been freaking awesome. So Department of Truth has been making the cut, and that's why here we are talking about issue number 28 coming out in 226. Moving out for Department of Truth, and let's talk about Nightclub issue number 6. Oh my God, Miller, you're freaking doing just so much destruction to these kids. I know there's another series that's coming out after this. I think it's called Cathedral. That is going to go ahead and give us more understanding of how all this stuff is. God damn, what did you do? Just release all these vampires onto the world? Seriously? Like, we don't have enough problems. The Nightclub has been just freaking cool, especially when you have a group of kids that are just, no one really cared about them anyways. Then they try to do the right thing after being bit by vampires, and this is all blowing up in their face. We're trying to revive some back from the dead, and they're already dead. This is freaking cool. Miller ends up writing some cool stuff. If you already know what, how he's been building this world, and you end up reading the whole big game, knowing that these kids made it through that, and here they are getting wiped out here, just kind of not only gets you a little bit angry, it shows you how well he's been writing a story because you're that much involved. The Nightclub issue number 6 is coming out, and it's just been enjoyable, awesome, emotional, and thoroughly enjoyable. And I can't wait. Just can't wait. Moving, it almost made my Blue Light special. Moving on from that, let's talk about The Seasons, issue number 2. This is a story about a daughter that has to play detective, finding out what happened to her other 3 sisters, and the daughter is of, like her 3 sisters, the children of famous detectives, in which that also went disappearing so many more years ago, when she now has to solve a modern day sleuthing problem of trying to not only again find herself and what's going on between herself and the relationships that she has in the surrounding area in this almost Middle Earth type plane, but also what is with the distress that she's getting from her sisters, along with really truly what happened with her parents. This is all written by Rick Remender, and he's doing not only a wonderful job by its introduction in issue number 1, but I'm looking forward to issue number 2 because the world now which he built, which most people will tell you, that right, to actually have a real false world that you have to contend with means that you have to build that world first. That's a nightmare. That's not easy for most. Most people will just write characters that are kind of, fantasy, false, and put them into kind of like a real world present scenario in which that we live in, because it's just that much easier. Rick has done quite the opposite. He built out a pretty good world. It's pretty interesting and pretty wondrous when you really want to get into it and you look into the art. It's pretty awesome. And I'm looking forward to issue number 2, just how well he introduced issue number 1. Moving on from the Seasons and Image Comics altogether, let's talk about IDW Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue number 7. Damn. This was the cover that I thought was really cool. And as it says right there, a new story arc begins here. We got these guys together. And it took hell to get these guys together. And we even seen that many times they wanted nothing to do with one another. So they're still navigating the shores in which that they are just dealing with one another, and their forced relationships to going back to a world that they kind of don't want to necessarily go to because it's already took a lot out of them. Also, we get introductions and seeing how the relationship is with, as you saw with April and everyone else that are now involved, and we're seeing how that's working out in this new present way that Jason Aaron is writing this storyline. Along with the Night Watcher and the story that we've been seeing, everything supporting so far, we're seeing this development of this mutant nation considerably bigger than this world has ever been before. And it's to us. We're seeing these individuals have to move away. We're seeing that's essentially kind of what we're getting with the storyline is we're seeing this expansion and we're seeing them forced to go ahead and move because of it. There's threats all around, and it's just this world is getting bigger, better, and badder. It's just been awesome. Jason, keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate you, buddy, in the sense of what you've been doing with the storyline, and I'm sure Kevin Eastman is just as proud. But moving on from that, let's talk. Hey, Mark, I appreciate you, buddy. Just saying. Let's talk about, well, you guessed it, moving over to Boom Studios. I hope it does come out. I know Diamond's having some significant problems, but please, let's talk about Uncanny Valley, issue number 8 of 10. Initially, this was pitched to be a 12-issue mini maxi series, and that's not actually going to happen. It was then asked if it could be, brought down to a 6-issue mini. Well, that didn't happen either. Luckily, Tony was able to then renegotiate the contract to be a 10-issue. You're probably going, why are you telling me all this? I was significantly hoping that this wasn't going to be another one of those rush series. People would badmouth it because it was one of those rush series and it just didn't make sense and all that. So far, the cadence of the storyline has just been so enjoyable and so awesome. We know what's going on with the main character. We know that his mom is now looking for him. We've seen the powerlessness of Grandpa when it came down to it. We know that the main character is a Disney character, just morphed into true and pure evil, is thinking that he was doing the right thing, but also, is it, yeah, we're saving a world, but are we have to destroy another world, or possibly, or do we have to destroy another child, or possibly a world to go ahead and do the same another world? I mean, these are the questions that we constantly have to ask ourselves when we have to do something minor, but at the sense of when it's a global thing, there's ramifications. So it is told to us that if one individual is eliminated, then the cartoon world can exist. But are they really existing, or are they trying to take over the present world in which that we live in? And does that eradicate us? Now, I'm not saying it's right, but holy Makatuni, this is some serious gravity that's being in there. And it's also, you could well tell there's morals and ethics that are also being discussed in the storyline. Uncanny Valley is really and truly something I believe that does follow in the true vein of Roger Rabbit when it's trying to give you a great moral and ethical story that's being told in there. Unfortunately, more times than not, much like in the story of Roger Rabbit, most people tend to miss the overall message in the story. When that message is not only conveyed and unfortunately missed, it's sometimes criticized as not very a good storyline. But is it really actually the storyteller, or is it the recipient that's not quite getting the message? You know what I'm saying? The message in the story is real beautiful. It's really cool. And it's when you really understand that there's, like I keep reiterating, there's true morals and ethics that are trying to be conveyed in the storyline, it makes it that much more enjoyable. This story has been something that I've been clamoring for every time it comes out, every month. It's something I ensure that I have, not only because it does break with almost everything else that I'm reading, but it allows me to go ahead and give some, I guess, validation of what I'm reading sometimes, because sometimes we get a little carried away with some of the purchases in which that we make, and then we go ahead and tell lies to ourselves that some of these stories are actually truly good. In the case of Uncanny Valley, that's not the case. It really truly is not only a really enjoyable story, but beyond something that we normally get out of some of the comics that we traditionally read. There's some messages in here that really can take you off into a far off world beyond what we're just seeing in color and ink, and sometimes just a few lines. So, hey, I appreciate everyone cruising on through. Mark, Chef, Jigs, buddy, I appreciate you hanging out with me. DJ, Las Cruces, those of which cruise on and on rewind, I appreciate you. And that is it for me. Entropy. You take care.